At every front row this week, the fashion crowd was talking about Jeremy Lin.
See, that's
when
so
has
cool.
that happened before? I was waiting for Jeremy Lin to pop up in a front row.
Hello, here's what we're buzzing about at News Beast. We've got two great new guests with us today. Isabel's going to be talking Fashion Week, and then Michelle and I are going to nerd out on the contraception wars. But you really, I got to tell you, how Michelle feels about basketball is how I feel about Fashion Week. I got nothing. So tell me why we care and what's going on, the lack of trends. And
well, yeah, there really were no trends this season. Designers are so contradictory with each other. You know, you'll see one thing that really stood out is at Marc Jacobs there were these huge hips on all of the dresses. So women next season are going to have to get used to being a little bit hippie, and there's this
But didn't they do that a couple
consciousness.
years ago?
I mean, designers.
I guess they have always did it a couple years ago.
Exactly. But you know, just in the sense that the same thing happened at Lorenz Scott. There are all these embellishments around places where women might not want to accentuate. So
can I'm going to be the stupid dude for a second, because so a bunch of designers dictate to women sort of like, here's what you're going to be wearing, so you better adjust your body image to fit this stylistic change I've decided to make in my head. Like, how does that work?
Well,
it seems
yeah, but
so weird
I
to
don't
me.
think it works quite like that. I think it's much more of a kind of symbiosis. You know, on the one hand, they're kind of dictating, but they're also trying to interpret the things that they see women wearing on the street. I mean,
it's working for
as
me
someone
a
who's
little
not into fashion, it's so bizarre how something that seems kind of hideous and all of a sudden within a few months you start thinking, oh my God, I want that.
I mean, it's all about personal style, and
Right.
the fashion industry has changed in such a way that style bloggers are now the celebrities at Fashion Week, and they just emphasize the need for being an individual, and individuality is the overriding theme at every single show this season. It's not the stars in the front row; it's really about the people that can look the most unique. So that was really the overriding.
Digging it. Michelle, you've been rocking the contraception war story since before it was called the contraception wars, but this culture war re-eruption is so fascinating right now.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, every time I think I'm going to stop writing about, birth control or abortion for a few weeks, I do have other interests.
Yes,
all of a sudden,
shockingly.
all of a sudden, there's like 5 stories in 1 week. And what's really astonishing is that during the Bush administration and even during the Clinton administration, and think back to the Clinton administration, the main abortion rights story then was about what they called partial birth abortion,
right.
which is a late-term procedure that's really troubling even to pro-choice activists. I mean, I think it's sometimes tragically necessary, but it's horrible and it's controversial, and nobody wants to celebrate it. That was a very savvy thing to target, because you can kind of, if you split the public on it, you're going to get like 80-20.
Right.
Think of how far we've come that now we're having an argument over birth control pills.
Yeah.
It shows. I mean, on the one hand, it's really depressing from a
larger civic individual freedom standpoint.
Yeah, exactly. That this is kind of the degeneration in our public discourse and the way that we're going back in terms of our respect for women's rights. But just from a pure partisan political standpoint, I think that this is great news for Obama, and the new Democracy Corps memo seems to bear that out.
Right, where single women are turning to the Democrats and the president in sort of a major wave of numbers. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So what's fascinating to me is that this is all on the coattails of the rhetoric of the Tea Party movement was very libertarian, very self-consciously libertarian, and it was all about let's focus on the economic message. And one of the points you're making is, I mean, they're blaming this on the liberal media, it's like it was some clever plot, but the reality is whether you're looking at the state actions in Oklahoma and Virginia, which are fascinating, or Darrell Iss's hearings, they're doing this to themselves. They're contradicting it's all about the fiscal issues.
And it's amazing that you see some conservatives being like, this is a plot to distract attention from the economy, from Obamacare, but they can't stop themselves. There's I think it has a lot to do with the breakdown of elites in the party and the breakdown of kind of strategic old men and now you have a party that's captured by its base, that believes its own propaganda, and that is, I think the Democracy Corps, memo was right to compare this to Terri Schiavo, where they've so they've been so captured by an ideological fringe
that they don't realize it until it's too late.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm going to go all basketball on y'all. I'm going Lynn-tastic. I'm going Jeremy Lin. I've been so excited to talk about this all week. And finally, we've got a great story on the Beast that gives me a perfect excuse. Buzz Bissinger, who started out totally dissing on Lynn, being like, this is nothing, it's a flash in the pan, had to write an extended rant/apology today. Which is absolutely great, and it's totally worth reading because nobody does curmudgeon quite as well as Buzz Bissinger. As we were kidding yesterday, Buzz killed Bissinger because he was trying to rain on the Lynn parade. And this dude, I mean, we're over 500. He is the real deal. It's amazing. It's like he's a sports icon, cultural icon. Obviously, it's only been a very short period, but it's just awesome what he's done, I mean, as a Knicks fan.
Yeah, I mean, I know less about Jeremy Lin than you know about Fashion Week, so.
That's very, very, very sad on both our
I can't get enough. I mean, what I was impressed by is that at every front row this week, the fashion crowd was talking about Jeremy Lin.
See, that's
when
so cool.
has that happened before?
I'm going to go with not since Walt Clyde Frazier.
No, I was waiting there. I mean, the front row guests were so weird this season. I was waiting for Jeremy Lin to pop up in a front row. Like, serious kudos to any designer that would get him in the front row. The clothes would sell out immediately.
I love it. We need to do a whole cycle on like basketball fashion icons, and I think Clyde still wins. I just want to say, like, he was rocking. He was the ways he rocked the '70s. He rocked the
Amari
70s.
Stoudemire has a thing going on.
Okay, Stoudemire.
Stoudemire. Sorry.
It's all right. It's spelled Stoudemire. It's pronounced.
Okay, Stoudemire.
We'll kick your ass.
I clearly don't know that much about basketball.
Just enough to be dangerous. Just enough to be dangerous. Well, I'm delighted. By the way, favorite headline? So many good headlines coming out of this, but New York Post, amazing.
Oh, yes.
Come on.
Well, I mean, if you mean favorite in terms of
best.
classic Post
Exactly.
kind of incredulity.
Yes,
right?
headless body and topless bar level.
Yeah.
All right, final word. Isabel.
Hips.
Incredulous.
Lynn-tastic. Inevitably. Have a great weekend. That's all for us at News Beast. We'll see you next week.